All right. Well, this says we are live on
Okay.
YouTube. We're also,
Exciting.
here we go. We're going live on Instagram too.
Oh, I see us.
Excellent.
All right. Cool.
Beautiful. Hello, world.
So, so why are we doing these again? What's the story
Well,
here?
we want to just have a conversation, bring people in, and see if they have any questions, see what they have to say, if they have any, concerns or issues with their own business, if they have something happening that they want to ask others in marketing or in business about. This is a perfect place to do so. Just like a casual, quick chat with people. We already have people joining in on Instagram, which is pretty cool. Hey, everyone. If you have any questions, this is a live stream. So feel free to ask any questions you may have. We'll pull up your question or your comment, and we can talk about it. In the meantime, we do have some topics that we wanted to just have a quick chat. And if you guys want to just chime in, feel free to do so whenever you want to.
We spent
Cool.
no time developing any topics to have a quick chat about, by the way. I don't know if you
I
have topics. Did you develop topics that we want to chat about?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, good.
I think
Good.
I think there's authenticity here that we're after, and a lot of people will appreciate. So
Great. I also too have a topic. I have a topic of um, the secret to a successful 2025. How do we
nice.
build a business that thrives? So I got that in my kind of brain.
Perfect.
It's the end of the year. It's the day before Thanksgiving. It's people are thinking about what their next year is going to be. So that's a topic I would like to talk about as well. And I don't know what you've got, but shoot it at me.
Let let's dig in. I wanted to also talk about the future vision, motivation, things of that nature that always stop people, especially now. We're it's more of the holiday season. We're gonna see family. We're gonna, get into the new year, spirit. That's when people start to put up a lot of like the whole resolution approach, and you know, by February, March, maybe, um, kind of that ship loses steam.
Cool.
And I want to talk about how to make sure that you continue going, keep your consistency, and just some things to keep in mind that, make things a little more real. A lot of times in our influencer heavy presence online, we kind of lose a lot of the reality of it. So yeah, we can dig
And
right
and,
into your topic first if you want.
and we are live. If anyone wants to submit questions, we can see them and
Sure.
we'll take a look at them and we'll answer them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that just like hate the concept of New Year's resolutions, and I get that, but also like you're not going to change human nature, right? People they see a new year, and as arbitrary as it might be, it does feel like an opportunity to like start fresh and reevaluate. So even for people who don't really love the concept of New Year's resolutions, um, you got to face the fact that like that's how humanity is. We look at these opportunities to reflect, and so it's like, look, why not start to imagine, what the next year could look like if you maybe started that business that you've had your mind on, or that side hustle. We had a live, I don't know, the other day, and the concept of side hustles came up as well. And this idea that like a lot of people have of like, can I just generate an extra $500 a month? What would that look like for my life? And the point that like I've seen literally thousands of people build these side hustles. Now, building to something that's generating $1 million a month is much more complicated. But building something as a side hustle that makes a few $100s a month extra is really very accessible, considering like the opportunities people have and the exposure they have. So I love to see people start there and then see where it goes. You know, you get there and then you realize, okay, now maybe I can start to push this a little harder. I think when you start with the idea that I'm going to make, you know, $350,000 on my side business, it becomes a little more scary, right? But if you say, look, it's, you know, my goal is to make my first $100 a month, you know, and how do I get there? And then my next goal is to make, you know, the first $500 a month. How do I get there? And you approach it that way, it like avoids some of that like burnout that you get when everything doesn't happen magically in the first month, you know?
Right. Right. That's, I think, the pitfall. I think you're highlighting something that's really valuable for people. I know I'm a victim of this, or rather I fall into the same trap where I want to just get in and do as many things as possible, as quickly as possible. And a lot of times that's not a long-term strategy that's really sustainable. You want to figure out, you know, a pace of doing things that lets you keep doing it for a long time, you know, approaching it with the mentality of like, I need this to start generating $350,000 a month immediately is not attainable. And that, I think, deflates a lot of people really quickly. So I think there's a lot of value there. Yeah. How have you, sorry, let me ask you a question. How have you navigated like these really big goals? I know you've done a lot of this in the past. How have you navigated the business goals that are really big versus the achievable next step?
Yeah, and I made the mistake, I think, of using the word goals, because I told myself a long time ago I wanted to stop using the word goal and start using the word milestone. Because what happens is when you set a goal and you reach that goal, you usually don't have a next, right? You're like, okay, I did it, I'm done. You know, my the company I started a long time ago that I ended up selling, I was 27 when I started it, and I started with the goal of getting to $1 million in sales a year. And we got there, believe it or not, I mean, it's just really a perfect scenario. We got there like in something like 19 months. You know, we hit $1 million in annual revenue. And then we didn't have another plan. We didn't have another goal, right? That was our goal. We hit the number, and then we kind of like sat there for a couple of years because we didn't really have a next, right? So I like to talk about it in terms of milestones. And then it always comes down to like, how do you break down the elements of generating money, right? So let's say, and we'll talk in terms of widgets as no matter what you're selling, if you're selling a service or a product or a digital product or a course, whatever it is, let's call it a widget. What is the cost that you're selling? What is the price that you're selling that for, right? And how many customers do you need to get to reach whatever your first milestone is, right? If you say, well, I'm selling something, this is actually a real life example. The person I was working with, was doing like some consulting with them. They wanted to make $5,000 a month. And they had a tool or a product that they were selling for $5 a month. And they were like, well, I just need to get 1,000 customers and I'll be making $5,000 a month. And I was like, it's very, very hard to get 1,000 customers, you know, like, right. I think that either your milestone is too big or your price per customer is too low. But if your first milestone is at 1,000 customers, you're going to get burned out way before you get there. Right. Let's target a milestone that's like your first 10 customers, right? Because 10 is an achievable number. So if your milestone now is, if $50 as a milestone doesn't sound exciting, maybe you got to charge more than $5 per customer, right? Like you've got to start to break down the unit economics of the business in a way that it really does seem achievable. Because it's like, well, yeah, I want to make $5,000, charge $5 a month. Let's do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to reach that 1,000. So let's make it achievable, right? You can get 10 customers and maybe you charge those first 10 customers $25 a month or $50 a month. Or maybe your first milestone is $50 and you're happy with that, and it's 10
Mhm.
customers at $5 a month. But it has to be something achievable. And then as you start to reach those milestones, right, you want it to be exponential. So you don't want to start with 10 customers and then go to 20 customers and then go to 30 customers, because that's an increment, like an incremental goal, right?
Mhm.
You're incrementing by 10 every time. What you want to do is, okay, your first goal is 10, right? If your first goal is 10, your next goal can be 20. That's fine. And then your next goal should be 40. And then your next goal should be 80. And then your next goal should be 160. So you're doubling every time, or growing at some exponential factor in terms of your milestones. So I like to think of those two things. It's like feasibility and what makes sense, right? And what's actually appealing. Because some people, they set a goal for $150 a month and they get there and then they're like, I don't care about $150 a month. This is a waste of time. You know, it's got to be something that's worth it and achievable. And then once you hit it, how do you grow exponentially from there? Because if it's just going to be 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50, then again, you're going to reach this point where you're just like, I don't know if this is worth it. You know, it's growing too slowly, and I'm never going to really hit my big goals.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Before 10, and you know, obviously I'm saying this to get your opinion. Before you get 10, if you don't have any customers, maybe, you know, the ego should be put aside, and one, you know, client number one should be our goal, right? Because a lot of times we skip steps in our minds, and it's like we're looking for the very next step, right? So what do you say to those people who need to start?
Yeah,
But
that's a great point. Actually, I didn't even think about that, but that's very, very smart. I don't think you have anything if you have zero. Like you haven't even started. You know, you don't start. Your business doesn't start when you have the idea, and your business doesn't even start when you build a product. Your business only starts when you have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people playing with it, and ideally 1 or 2 paying for it. Right? Anything before that doesn't exist. That's not a business. That's, you haven't even started yet. I think like so many people, they spend so much time on the product. I've known founders that have spent like 3 years building a product. They have no customers, and they're like, oh yeah, I started this business 3 years ago. No, you didn't. You were playing around for 3 years.
right,
You
it
know,
was a
you have
hobby.
0 people actually using the product. That means you don't have anything, right? Until you have somebody in there, that's starting. And then once you've started, then you can set a milestone of in terms of like revenue or in terms of like growth. But I don't, anytime somebody's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 2 years, how many customers do you have? 0. You didn't even start yet. That doesn't even exist. Your business doesn't exist. Some people are gonna be offended by that, and I'm sorry, but yeah, you should have people using on day one. Day one, you give somebody beta access to nothing, you know, and see how many times they log in to see if it works the next day, right? Because if they're not logging in to check if it works, then they don't care about what you're selling anyway. You know, it's kind of this idea that like if you're building something that nobody really wants, then why are you doing it? And if you've given 5 people access for free and it's not ready yet, and you tell them it's going to be launching in a week, and they're not logging in and refreshing in a week, maybe they don't really want it, you know, and then you've got to rethink your whole product or your whole solution.
Right. I do want to say, let me just give a reminder to people. I see we have a bunch of people watching on YouTube. We have some people watching on Instagram. This is a live Q&A. Go ahead, ask your questions. Drop us a line if there's something that's, you know, like confusing to you, or you're not really sure where to start, or you're looking for an idea, or whatever it is, business related, marketing related, Builderall related. All of that's fine. You can go in the comment section, and yeah, we can just keep this conversation going, because I think we're touching on something that's really important for people. It's something that I see a lot. I'm sure you see a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people do. Is thinking something past the point where it's productive. And what I mean by that is like spending so much time on the idea and needing to perfect this idea and like think about all of the different angles, and what if a customer wants this offer, what if a customer wants this other offer. None of that matters, right? Like, how do you break out of that cycle of like overthinking something? And, you know, to some it might be perfectionism, but, you know, really business needs more of a practical element. You know, you just need to start. So what's your perspective on that? How do you get either yourself or people like me who report to you, how do you get us past that step to just do versus think?
I mean, even at Builderall, like we've got thousands of customers. And when we're building like a new feature or we're doing an update, I hear it all the time. It's like, oh, what are we going to put in this component? Or what are we going to put over here? How is this going to work? And usually I'm like, well, it doesn't matter how it's going to work. And then everybody freaks out. They're like, what do you mean it doesn't matter? Of course it matters. People, and it's like, well, because this is the main product and this works. And that sub feature that you're talking about, we don't even know if anybody's going to click on it. So why don't we put this? So then they're like, well, we should remove the button. I'm like, no, keep the button. And when people click on it, it's going to say, coming soon. And it's going to send us an email, right? Us, in this case, if we're talking about product and, we've got a live product, we've got thousands of users. In this case, when somebody clicks on that section that doesn't exist, I want an email immediately going to my head of product. And I want an email immediately going to me that says somebody tried to access this feature, right?
Yes.
So we launch a section. It's mostly working, right? The core functionality is there. You've got maybe 3 or 4 things that are ancillary, and maybe they're important and maybe they're not, but don't build them yet, right? Don't worry about the feature yet. Put it in, and then have a way to track if people are clicking on that, right? So if you've got a tool and there's a feature, put the button there. When people click it, send yourself a notification. And once you see that notification, once you're getting flooded with emails, everybody's clicking on that, you better build it, right? But until then, it's really just, it's the same as like a lean or an agile methodology where you're only building things that people are going to use, but you're putting in ways to track if they're trying to use it. And I think that's really valuable. It's kind of, for me, like a no-brainer, because otherwise you will spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on a product and building all these features that no one is going to ever click on or use.
Right. And in a lot of ways, you're also like protecting that investment, right? Where you're building something that for sure has enough demand. People want this feature, and it's not like it doesn't turn into a pet project, right? In a previous life, in an agency setting, I used to always say this to clients and remind them that they're not, sometimes they are, but for the most part, they're not their own target audience. So it doesn't really matter if they like something, if they want something. If the market asks for it, then you do it, right? Yeah. So I think it's in the same vein. I love the idea of being able to track it. I see a comment come in. It came in through YouTube. Someone asked about burnout. Motown Assassin asks, you spoke about burnout. What steps would you take to kind of get around this or get over it? Brilliant question.
Yeah, I like that question. I want to give my thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts on this afterwards, because I think we run into this a lot in our daily and our weekly work at Builderall. You're juggling a lot of hats. I think burnout is different at different stages. If we're talking about super early stage, when you're just building something, it doesn't really exist yet. If you're getting burned out in the early stages, you may want to consider if this is what you should be doing, right? And that's not going to land well with a lot of people. And I know there's probably a lot of dissenting thoughts on that. But for me, like, when I was in my 20s, I did all kinds of stuff and wasted a lot of time on a lot of different things. And I think it was fine. I learned a lot and I grew. But nowadays, like, I try to be very selective about what I work on. And if I find myself getting burned out by a particular task, I really question whether that task is important, and if I were starting a business today and I'm getting burned out in the early days of the business, I would think maybe this is not the right business, right? Because if you're not the amount of dedication and commitment and consistency that's required to build something meaningful is so deep that if you're getting burned out in the early days, it's probably not the right business for you. That's what I would say on that side. Now, when you come to a business that's already operating and there's a lot of aspects of it that become like a job, right? Like you've got to just do the work, and that's what the work is. What I try to do then is I try to understand, like, there's elements that I'm not going to enjoy about running the business, right? But I try to find and insert, maybe not every day, but at least every week, like, what can I do to further my business that I actually like doing? And that helps with burnout, because I find you at least have that to look forward to. You know, it's not like you're just grinding and you're sad and you're doing things that you don't enjoy. You have at least the sense, well, okay, on this day, I'm going to get to work on this thing that I really enjoy, and that's going to kind of re-energize my vitality about this project. And I think that's really important. Even if the thing you're doing has what feels like a very low impact, like, trust yourself and trust, like, your own sort of energy. If you can devote a few hours a week to the part of it that you enjoyed, it helps a lot with burnout. I think you could work. I've worked 18-hour days and not gotten burnt out, because I really loved what I was doing. So if you're getting burned out, find ways to insert something that you really like about the project, and give yourself that time. That's my feedback, because I don't think it's about how much you work, and I don't think it's about downtime, although I think that's valuable too. But I think it's about, the only way to really find success is by creating a kind of like a haven in your job that you enjoy and you get to look forward to every week. But I'm curious, Pierre, I feel like you'll have a different perspective.
I really liked your perspective. I think it's true fundamentally. If you're burning out early on, then, is this something that you want to lock in on forever, or for the foreseeable future? So I love that question.
It's so hard.
Like a point of perspective. Yeah. It's a type of perspective, that really clarifies things. Like, hey, is this the right business to really dig into like this? If early on, you're not so passionate about it that you're ready to like, stay up late and get up early and do all the things. And
so I haven't given you a chance to answer yet. But I do want to I love using relationship analogies for business.
Right.
And I do that quite a bit. And in this case, I think it's like a perfect relationship analogy. If you have, like, just started a relationship with someone, right? Like, you just started dating, you just started, like, boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't know if people use those terms in adulthood, but, like, you just started dating. And if you don't want to spend, like, a stupid amount of time with that person, it's probably not the right person. Like, if you're content to, like, enjoy this person in moderation, like, we're going to go out on Saturday night, and then I'm going to do my own things on Sunday, and then Monday I'm going to work and I'm not going to see them, and Tuesday maybe we'll get together for lunch, and then Wednesday I'm not going to see them. Like, if you're not just, like, crazy head over heels, like, I need to be with this person all the time, and this is maybe not a good thing to say for people in relationships that aren't excited to be with their partner. Like, in the early days, if you're within 6 months of a relationship and you don't want to be with that person every single moment, maybe it's not the right person, right? And I think it's the same thing here in business. If you're starting a new business and every moment you're not like your friends are hitting you up and you're like, dude, I know you're going out, but I really want to stay and focus on this last bit of code, or I really want to focus on, like, doing this go-to-market strategy, or I'm about to finish the website. Like, if you're not like that, it may not be the right fit. Because, again, just like relationships, if you're not that excited in the first 6 months, how do you think you're going to feel in 6 years about that person? If you could only deal with being with them 3 days a week when you were dating, and then, like, you're married and it's 10 years later, you're still only going to want to be with them 3 days a week. And that's not the right place to be,
Yeah.
So
maybe
I think
less.
Yeah, and less, right, exactly.
Yeah,
So I think it's
yeah,
a perfect analogy. Like if you're not just like every moment of the day dying to work on this business, um, then it might be the wrong business. And again, that's different when you've been in a business for 3 years or 5 years or
yeah.
7 years. It's not the same. It feels different. And then you've got to look at, okay, what is the magic that brought me here? What was the thing I was excited about? How can I inject some of that into every week? So I didn't even let you answer. I'm sorry, but I
Well,
just wanted
I,
to.
I think that was a perfect lead in into really what I wanted to get to. The person who left the comment specifically asked in a way that sort of hints at like they're in the burnout stage now. And that's sort of like, the question is, how do I get out of it or how do I get around it? Motown Assassin, I see that you're the one who dropped the comment. Let me know if that's accurate. Let me know if you're currently in that process. Then I think the answer is different. And I can give my perspective on how to get over burnout if you're in it, because I've been there. Many people have been there. The way that I found to overcome it is, first of all, you're working too much or you're saying yes too much. That's what I found for myself. When I find that my motivation to get to work is low, it means that work, or I've created a situation where I don't like it. I don't like to show up to work. It doesn't drive me. It's sort of like a grind. And typically when people burn out, it means that it's been a grind for long enough for it to stop being a phase, right? Like, this is just how work is now. And then motivation kind of falls off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important to watch out to. Saying yes too much, doing too many things you don't want to do, or in a lot of ways you shouldn't be doing. If you have people who work with you that you are supposed to, or I hate using that word, or you ought to delegate and let them grow, you should be doing that, right? Because in a lot of ways, you're robbing yourself from your time and your energy and the things that really help you stick to the work and really get in like a passionate state. You're also robbing the people who work with you from the opportunity to grow and develop and learn new skills. So it's a negative for everyone involved, right? And obviously, like in an agency setting, you're robbing your client from your best work.
Yeah,
So
I think Motown did a follow up saying that he does think he was saying too much to the wrong
yeah.
people, but he said something that's a trigger for me and probably for you, Pierre, because we've both been in that space for a long time. Is that it was in an agency, and
Mm,
I will tell you, I don't know anyone who's been able to work at an agency for a long amount of time without getting burned out.
mm,
It's almost the nature of the business,
yeah.
and it's industry wide. Like agencies have huge turnover. It's like a 95% burnout rate. So there's something about the agency life that is
Yeah.
inherently like burnout creating. So if you can figure out how to run an agency for more than like 10 years, Motown, without getting burned out, like write a book, because there's agency employees and owners all around the world that are just constantly, it's just, you're dealing with so many. Now, I will say, working at an agency, I think prepares you to do like the best work of your life, because you're
Yes.
dealing with so many inputs and so many clients and so many voices, and you're having to take all of that and create like magic out of it. It makes you an incredible, like when I'm hiring someone, if I've known they've worked at an agency, it raises their level of like desirability, because agency owners, agency operators, agency employees are like the best of the best when it comes to being able to like deal with multiple inputs, deal with multiple clients, multiple voices, and still create fantastic work. So Motown, it might just be a function of agency life, but yes, I love what Pierre said, and I second it wholeheartedly. Learn to say no more often. learn to be a lot more selective. Firing clients is a thing in the agency world,
Yes,
and do
absolutely.
it. It's important. If you're not firing one client every year, you're probably not, being judicious enough about your clients. But yeah, I know, I think we've probably beaten this up like a dead horse, but
Yeah.
but I think that
I
was a good topic.
I do want to add, this is a topic that we went over on the Funnel Fast Track Agency Edition. And I have the slide. I'm going to take this chance to geek out for 30 seconds, if that's fine. We went through, and this was kind of something that I wanted to kind of tell people, like, it's chaotic by design. There's no way around it, about agencies specifically. And it creates a situation where people want it to be different, but it's the nature of the beast itself. Hold on, let's find this. Okay, here we go. And the reason being, this is by the way, real footage from inside an agency. So
silly.
because of these three little components here, your time, your communication, your consistency, those are the controllables. Those are the things that you have a hold of. And a lot of times, if you start losing control of your time or your communication or your consistency, then your days are numbered. So that's just something I wanted to like throw in there.
Yeah, Motown, if you're at that stage, by the way, where you're firing clients, and instead of winding down, try doubling all your prices. Like, and even instead of firing a client, double or triple their price. And you'll find it's a lot easier to deal with someone who's a pain in the ass when you're getting paid exorbitant amounts of money. It makes it a lot more palatable. Look, I love affiliate marketing. I did it myself for a very long time. I don't like it as my only source of income. It's a little bit too like out of your control. So I like it. I think it's good supplementary. I think it's great, like a company like ours, Builderall, where you can get recurring revenue from your affiliate efforts. I think that's really strong, and I want that. But I also like to have something secondarily that drives the additional revenue in case the affiliate program is down for some time, right? Your affiliate marketing. So I love affiliate marketing. I don't like relying on it for your only source of revenue. And I guarantee you, if you're firing clients, you can probably double your prices or triple your prices, and you're going to keep some of those clients, and you're going to be much happier. You're going to have 1/3 of the clients, you're going to be making the same amount of money, and you're going to be much happier. And just to set a bar, like I have a friend who owns an agency. Their like average ticket per client is something like $45,000 a month. So don't be afraid of asking for it. Even if it means like none of your existing customers stay, but if you've got an offer that's worth it, like I don't know what you charge today or I don't even know what kind of agency it is, but I will say you can probably charge a lot more.
Love that.
What's up, Dwayne? How's it going?
Cool. Awesome. Yep. Thanks for hopping in, Dwayne. No one really knew this live stream was going to happen. We barely knew it was going to happen. We just hopped on. This is like a casual Q&A. We're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube. Feel free to drop in any questions that you have. Anything that has to do with business, with marketing. And we're talking about 2025. We're talking about motivation, how to start your business. What are those next steps? What to do if you're running low on motivation, if you feel burnt out. All of those things are coming in. And I think we're coming into a really great topic. I think motivation is I think a cornerstone of any business effort. And a lot of times we hype ourselves up so much that by the time we start, we've just we feel so good about just starting that we end up setting ourselves up to not do it consistently, right? If every time you need this, this big marching band to help you get motivated, and you have this like 4-hour, 4-hour like morning routine that just makes sure that you you get in the right headspace. Maybe like we're doing too much, right? I saw someone on YouTube, I think it was Alex Hormozy, just saying, I don't do ice baths. I don't have a 4-hour morning meditation routine. I don't do any of that. I get up, I get to work, and I work until the work's done. Okay. He's a little intense. We can find balance there, but like a lot of times we like think ourselves into not working, or we think we need all of those things when you really don't. You just need to get in there, do reasonably sized pieces of work, get to the next milestone, like you were saying, Pedro, and just move from there, right?
Yeah, this is a little self-serving. It's a little self-serving, but why don't you pin the Descomplicando Builderall's comment, because I like it.
There you
go. Can you tell us where you're watching from? Descomplicando. I mean, uncomplicating Builderall for the people who don't know the language. Tell us where you're in. In fact, everybody who's watching, let us know where you're watching from, because I love to see where our audience is. We've got customers everywhere. Oh, from Brazil, perfect. Also Portuguese.
Nice.
I put my email in the comments. I know on YouTube I did. I don't know, Pierre, if there's a way to share that. It's just pedro@builderall.com. I love to connect with customers, with partners, with affiliates. So feel free to message me. You have my direct email address, pedro@builderall.com. It can be in English, it can be in Spanish, it can be in Portuguese, or Google Translate can help with any other languages. So shoot me a message. To Dwayne's point, I probably got your email and I haven't gotten to it yet. That is the one caveat I like to say is, if you email me, it doesn't mean I'm gonna get back to you the same day. It usually does take a couple of weeks, and it's been a little bit worse now with the holidays coming up. But I will get back to you. And if worst case scenario, I will see it and I will make sure I forward it to somebody if they need to get back to you right away. And it helps too if you like indicate if there's an urgency, right? If you're sending me something and it's just like I can reply whenever, that's cool. But if you say, hey Pedro, I'm looking to get an answer on this by this date, that helps. Oh, Motown from Vegas. We're going to be in Vegas, not Pierre, myself and Alex are going to be in Vegas in February next year. So in a few months, in 3 months for the affiliate summit.
I wouldn't like to go to Vegas at all, actually. I'm in the Northeast too. I see someone in from Rhode Island. So February is going to be peak, freeze your behind off outside season. So a trip to Vegas sounds awful.
Trinidad is nice. My family's from Puerto Rico, so we got Caribbean in the house.
Nice.
So yeah, Motown, if you're, I don't know if you're just passing through Vegas or if you live in Vegas, but we're going to be in there in February. It'd be cool to get together. Happy to do like dinner or something while we're out there. Let me know. We'll probably do like a little dinner, like a VIP dinner for anybody who's in our group. Actually, yeah, we'll do a dinner. If you're a Builderall customer and you're in Vegas or you want to be in Vegas in February, hit me up. We'll do a team dinner. It'll be fun. Rhode Island, very nice. Trinidad, nice. Okay, so I don't want to go too much off topic. I love chatting. This is just a drop in, but there's two things I want to cover. One, what can I do in 2025 to be more successful? Maybe we'll give out like 3. Maybe you pick like 2 things they could do. I'll pick 2 things that I think will be really impactful, and we'll leave with like 4 things they can do in 2020. Because throw out 2 things they can do in 2025 that are like practical, like actionable, not like, take an ice bath, to your point, like make it something like, what can they do for their business in 2025 that is actionable and doable?
Are we typing them in? Am I saying them out loud?
No, I'm replying to comments while you're supposed to be talking.
Okay. I think here's something that I think a lot of people don't do enough. Update your website. Update it, make it industry specific, make it problem specific. So, identify what your customer is looking for and call it out. Create a landing page. There's whatever your website is built on, it, in this year, in 2024, 2025, it can't possibly be easier to change your headline or update your picture. Create a duplicate of that page, and create a really specific solution to a really specific problem. A lot of people try to do too much on their websites, and your landing page gives people this whole like menu to choose from. You're putting the work in the visitor's hands, and the only work they're going to do is leave your website. All right. When that happens, they're not going to connect at all. So give them a really clear problem and a really clear solution, and tell them how you're going to get there, and ask them to connect with you, and try that out. I think
I'm going to throw a hot tip in this one. If you do use Builderall, do that using the A/B test feature.
Yes.
So that you can have your existing page stay live. You do a new page or an updated page that's focused on like problem, solution, benefit type of selling. And then let Builderall sort of A/B between the two pages and see which one gets you better sales, better leads, better responses, better conversion rate in general. Because I feel like the A/B testing feature in Builderall is like the least used and maybe one of the most powerful features. You can create a second version of a page and let the system sort of filter out the two versions in between users and give you data on which one's the most effective.
I think I fully agree with you. That's definitely one of the features that's completely slept on, right? What it does is, for those who don't know, you can create a duplicate of your page, and Builderall will serve it randomly to people as they go to your URL, for example. And you can see the data with how many people visit those pages versus how many people move on to that next step. And I don't think there's anything that could compete or optimize your landing page more than applying those different tests. You can change your headline, you can change your pictures, all of those things, images, graphics, however your layout is, you can test everything about your landing pages. I think in 2025, because of platforms like Builderall and others, if your website hasn't been updated in the last 6 months, you have to start doing that this year.
Okay, so you gave your first one. Let me give my first one so that I don't leave you out there. My first tip for 2025. Man, I really should have planned. I should have planned this while you were talking.
On the spot like that, yeah.
I put you on the spot, and you gave a great one. I think I was assuming you would just throw out some junky one, and then I could just do anything. I do like that. It's so easy. It's so easy to update your website and move on. Okay, so my one tip for 2025: create a plan or package or an offering that's like 5 times the average cost of your normal plans. Just put it there. Even if you don't expect it to sell, if we were talking about the agencies, right? If your average agency client is $3,000 a month, put a package for $12,000 or $15,000 a month and offer it to everyone, right? Even if you don't expect them to buy it. I mean, psychologically what it does is it increases their perceived value of the firm when they know, like, oh yeah, these guys do $15,000 a month, clients. We're only paying $3,000. We're getting a good deal. And again, there's no upper limit to this. I know an agency, actually, I'm not going to put him out there, but a family member of mine works in an agency, and he does strategy documents. So the client comes in, they say they're not even hiring the agency to do the work. They're like, hey, what do we need to do? He does that document for them. He's 28 years old. The agency charges $75,000 for that document.
Wow.
And they get it. They get clients every month, $75,000 for, and mind you, it's a great document, well researched. It ends up being like 20 pages. But this guy's not a 60-year-old MBA, whatever, you know, he's a 28-year-old guy who's been doing marketing for a while. He's really good. He's fantastic. But they could have easily said, we're going to do this thing for $5,000, or we're going to give it away for free to try to get them to come on board as a client. But by offering it for $75,000, they close the customers, and a lot of those customers go on to become monthly retainer customers at a high monthly retainer. So that's my suggestion. If you want to improve your sales in 2025, create a package 5 times more expensive than anything else you sell. Make it available to everyone. See how it affects your sales in general.
I love that. There's a lot of psychology that backs up what you're saying, Pedro. And I know you know this, but I feel like mentioning it for people to go into their own research, look at price tethering, look at that strategy as a way to increase your, essentially you increase your top line just by doing it. Because a lot of times when you set that price high, it makes people shift in that direction. Even if you have other packages that you're offering at the same price, having a significantly more expensive offer on the same page in front of them gives them the motivation to kind of buy at a higher rate than they would have otherwise. So I think that's really interesting. And I love that. I love that idea. Yeah.
Okay, now you're on the hook. One more from you.
One more.
just so people know, we there's no forethought into this live.
Absolutely none.
That we're hosting.
Which I think people are going to appreciate.
Dwayne, I think Dwayne just saved you. He threw it in the chat that if you don't use it, I'm going to steal it.
List building in multiple niches with free giveaway and downloads. Okay, I'll let you steal that one because I think in 2025, if you're not using shorts because you think that at some point in your mind that your target audience isn't on TikTok, it doesn't matter. I want you to go through the creative exercise of creating short form content and posting it where appropriate. So I'm not saying go to TikTok. LinkedIn has shorts now. YouTube has shorts, Facebook, Reels, Instagram, obviously, TikTok. I don't know a platform that doesn't have shorts at this point. You know what I mean? Make short form content. It is literally advertising for free. It's a 30-second or 60-second ad placement that you should be using to drive users to longer form content. And then from that longer form content, you can give people your pitch. Send them to your website. Sell them the course. Show them the book that you're selling. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, use short form content. And don't have AI do the whole thing for you. All right. Do it yourself. Go through the mental workout, even if you're going to use AI as a supporting tool. And we can talk about that more, Pedro. I think that's something that's worth talking about. But short form content is crucial for any business, especially now that all sorts of different platforms allow you to post that type of content. So that's mine.
That's good. That's good. So I'll do one more. We promised 4. I'm going to steal Dwayne's, although I'm going to add to it. So Dwayne mentioned list building in multiple niches with free giveaways and downloads. So, I mean, the thing with multiple niches is you should always be testing different audiences and different niches. Maybe not like with the full budget, but you should always be reserving like 10%, 15%, maybe even 20% of your budget for like testing different audiences, testing different personas. And I think that's really important. I love free giveaways and downloads. I don't think they're critical. I think they're good to have and they're good to test. But even more so, I'm going to say, you know, list building in the different niches, and then really like doubling down on automation to those lists, right? Because so many people build lists, but they don't actually like talk to them enough, right? It's this thing that I mean, Pierre and I see it every single day of, you know, you reach someone, they sign up, they get on your list, they go to a workshop, they download your downloadable, whatever they do, and then they do nothing sometimes for like months. You know, they just exist there. And if you don't have automations that's constantly sort of like building those conversations and creating outreaches and developing different like points of interaction for that list, then the work you did of building the list goes to waste, right? So we have this one that it's I posted about it in my in one of my reels on Instagram, that, you know, Pierre brought it to me. You know, we got to sign up, and he was like, Pedro, you need to get on a call right now. I need to show you something. And I get on the call. He shows me like the life of the lead for this customer. And we sent that customer 67 emails. They had joined our list like 18 months ago or 19 months ago. And in the course of that time, they had gotten 67 emails. Now, I like to preface this by saying if the customer had stopped, or if the lead, they weren't even a customer yet, if the lead had stopped opening emails or stopped engaging, they would have dropped off the list, right? So get yourself a platform like Mailing Boss or like a lot of other platforms that can do that list management for you, because you don't want to have to be doing the list management all the time either, right? But get them on the list. If they keep opening and they keep clicking and they keep engaging, who cares if they're there for 18 months and 67? At some point, they either, maybe they reached the right point in their life, or they saw the right message in an email, or whatever happened, that after 18 or 19 months and 67 emails, they pulled the trigger and became a Builderall customer, right? And that's the life cycle you're going to see in so many businesses. But most people give up before that 67th email, right? You do an 8 email sequence or a 12 email sequence, and you didn't get the customer, that's it, you're moving on, right? No, you got to have automations that extend almost like for perpetuity, you know, where you're continuing to talk to those people forever until they say, don't message me anymore, or by their inaction, they drop off the list. And right. So that's my thing. Build the list, but also make sure that you have automations. We're going to make sure that list doesn't go cold, you know, for reasons of you not engaging.
I love that. Can I add a thought to the end of that as a way to just piggyback into the conversation? I want everyone who maybe hasn't been a marketer for a really long time, or hasn't really gotten involved in lists and emails and email marketing in general, to not think of the size of your list like a vanity metric, like, you know, how many people follow you on social media. It is not a vanity metric. And as far as I'm concerned, if someone is not engaging on the list, you know, either get off or stay. You know, either engage and stay on my list, or just get off, right? Because you're throwing my numbers off, you're throwing my decision making off just by, you know, if I have someone who's on a list not opening any of my emails for like 3 years, I don't want to talk to that person anymore. I want to talk to people who want to talk to me, you know? And that's what I think is a really you know, it causes people to have this paradigm shift of like not looking like, oh, I have a list of 10,000 people, I must be doing something great.
Yeah.
You know, well, you know, 97% of that list haven't engaged with you ever, you know, so it doesn't matter. Like, you don't, you know, it's almost like you don't have that big of a list anyway. So
yeah, and people don't, and we're not going to get into this whole long conversation of like, oh, maybe there's a future live for another day where we go into like the you know, the technical behind the scenes things that go on with email. But Google, like Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, like all the big email providers, even Outlook, what they do now is they're watching the emails coming in from your domain, right? So if you, to your point, if you've got a list of 100,000 people and you're sending 100,000 emails a week, and you're getting a 6% open rate, meaning 94,000 of those 100,000 emails are going unopened. What Google does through their Gmail client, what Yahoo does, and what all the email providers do is they change what's called your domain reputation, and they lower your domain reputation. And the lower your domain reputation goes, the less of your emails actually get delivered into the inbox versus the junk box versus the spam box versus being blocked entirely. And you can actually see your domain reputation. Google has something called Google Postmaster Tools. I think that's what it's called today. You can go to Google Postmaster Tools, validate your domain, and see where your domain reputation is, at least for Gmail. But it's to Pierre's point. If you're sending 100,000 emails, 94,000 of those emails, Google knows if somebody's opening them or not. Like half the people are Gmail users, right? They can see that the Gmail users are not opening it. They're either pushing it to a junk folder or deleting it. And every one of those is a signal to Gmail that emails from your domain are not desirable. And that's the last person. You don't want Gmail deciding that emails from your domain are not desirable, because you're never going to get in the inbox again. So even though the industry average is 20%, and even like across Builderall, I think our average open rate across all of our clients, across the billions of emails that they send every year, is somewhere around 20, 21%. But you should be targeting like 40% open rates. And again, you want a list management platform that helps with this. So at Builderall, our Mailing Boss client does that. But if not, you can set up segments and say, like, if I have an email address that hasn't opened any of my last 6 emails, then just unsubscribe them. Take them off the list, or find a metric that works for your cadence. Meaning, like, if you send an email every day, maybe the person's been on vacation for a week, so they just didn't get a chance to open it, and you need to extend that time frame. But if you send 1 email a month and somebody hasn't opened the last 6 emails, that means 6 months of sending, that person hasn't opened an email. You can just take them off, just proactively, just remove them, right? Because it's much better to have a small list with a 40% open rate, because it means all your emails are getting delivered, than a huge list with a 6% open rate, because it means almost none of your emails are going to be delivered into the inbox, which is only going to make the open rate worse. So There's a whole lot more we could talk about there, but this is not the call for that. But it's important. It is important to it. So I think those are our 4 things. So recap: do a new version of a web page, your main landing page, your home page, your product page, whatever. And then if you can, A/B test it. 2, what was number 2? I forgot. Oh, a high price. Make a high ticket item. Make it available. Offer it to all your customers, whether they buy it or not. It's still there. 3, start doing shorts. Don't overthink it. Like Pierre and I, we said, look, we're gonna just start going live, and we're gonna chat. And if nobody comes, nobody comes. If the quality's bad, the quality's bad. If what we talk about is stupid, it's stupid. Who cares, right? There's 100 people that watch this live if you add it all up, right? And if 100 people think I'm an idiot, then that's fine. That's I'm willing to take that risk, right?
Get in line.
So go live, do shorts, do something that's getting your word out there. But short form is the thing now, right? It doesn't have to be TikTok. It could be YouTube. It could be Instagram. It could be Facebook, whatever. And then the last thing is, don't just build lists and don't just test different personas and different niches, but make sure you have automations that is working that list for a real life cycle, not just 8 emails over the course of 3 weeks or whatever like that. Give them time. It takes people time.
Love that. I just wanted to highlight a comment. This person grew their strategic marketing consultancy by offering funnels for customer retention and increased their client portfolio and ticket price in 2024. Then they say, I can say only thank you so much. I'm assuming that that thank you is to the Builderall team, and we love seeing it. So
part of what I think we want to start doing with these lives too is, like, let's bring customers on here. If we're going to start doing this on a regular clip, like, Dwayne, maybe I know you've got an agency and you do consulting. Love to have you on here one day. I don't know, Descomplicado, I don't know your name, like your real name, but would love to have you join. Scott, I saw, you've been on a few of the lives. let's give you a chance to talk about what you're doing, right? Talk about your agency, talk about your funnels, talk about whatever it is that you're doing that's maybe working or not working. And one, I guarantee you somebody probably wants to hire that service. Somebody probably needs what you're selling. And two, it gives me somebody to talk to that's not Pierre once in a while.
I wasn't expecting that. That was a solid burn. That was
once
good.
in a while. I need some variety.
That was solid.
So cool. It's been an hour. How much more do we want to do?
I think we can leave it at this. I love the engagement from people. Again, we were live today on YouTube and on Instagram. I think we're going to look to add to the list of channels that we do these kind of pop-up streams on. And the whole point is to generate organic content. We don't overthink it, not overly polished. No one wants to sit through like a overly complicated presentation or anything like that. It's just a chat that brings people into kind of the conversation, because a lot of people don't get that perspective. They think they're in their own bubble, and we want to normalize how business is run. So this is cool. I appreciate your time today, Pedro. To everyone who watched us across the different channels, appreciate your time too. Make sure to subscribe or follow us. Hit the notification bells if you're on YouTube, so that next time you can be notified as soon as we go live. All right.
Awesome. I love that. Dwayne, I got your email. I'm about to write you back now.
Awesome. All right. Well, We'll see you.
Great.
We'll see everyone on the next one.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Pierre.
Thank you, Pedro, and to you as well.
Thanks for having me on.
See, the smile made it seem less genuine. All right. All right. That's it. See you later.
Bye, guys.